Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something pretty significant in the gaming world.
Yeah, it's this ongoing legal fight between Nintendo and Pocketpair, the makers of Palworld.
Right, the patent infringement case. And honestly, this feels like more than just lawyers talking. It could really, shake things up for game design down the line.
Definitely. And what we really want to do here in this deep dive is kind of get to the core of it, especially Pocketpair's defense strategy.
Because there's new info out, right, from the Tokyo District Court.
Exactly. Documents that lay out the specific Nintendo patents they're talking about, and maybe more interestingly, the huge list of games Pocketpair is using as evidence. Some surprising names on there.
Okay, so that's our mission. Unpack this whole thing, the patents, the defense, what it means without getting bogged down in legalese. We want you listening to really get the complexities, the potential impact on innovation, and maybe recognize some games you've played that are now part of this legal drama.
Sounds good. Let's jump in.
So Pocket Pair's defense, it hangs on this concept called prior art.
That's the main pillar, yeah. Prior art. In patent law, it basically means any evidence that your invention was already publicly known or available before you filed the patent.
So like technologies, designs, even written descriptions that existed beforehand?
Exactly. Anything public.
The classic, hey, someone else kind of did this already argument?
Precisely. Pocketpair is saying that the game mechanics Nintendo patented, things like creature capture, movement, mounting, were actually present in lots of other games.
Not just games, but mods too, like
Yeah.
fan-made stuff.
Yeah, even user-created modifications. Their argument is essentially that because these ideas were already out there, publicly known, Nintendo shouldn't have been granted these patents in the first place. They weren't truly new or inventive at the time of filing.
Okay, and they've brought receipts, so to speak. There's a list.
Oh, it's quite a list. Thanks to reporting from GamesFray, who got hold of the court documents, we know what they're citing. And it is extensive.
Lay it on us. What kind of games are we talking about?
Okay, brace yourself. There's Pocketpair's own game, Craftopia, which is interesting. Then the Pocket Souls mod for Dark Souls 3.
A Dark Souls mod. Seriously. Okay.
ARK. Survival Evolves sometimes, apparently, cited in combination with a Pokemon mod for ARK.
Wow. Okay. That's layering it on.
It gets better. They're even citing Nintendo's own games. The Legend of Zelda, Pokemon Legends, Arceus, and Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Wait, citing Pokemon itself against Nintendo's patents, that's bold.
It is. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy XIV, Tomb Raider, Far Cry 5, Monster Super League, that's a mobile game.
Right.
The Pixelmon mod for Minecraft, which is huge. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Rune Factory 5, Titanfall 2, Path of Exile, Octopath Traveler.
Okay, this is genuinely a massive range of genres and platforms.
Totally. Dragon Quest Builders, Nexamon, another mod, the Nukamon mod for Fallout 4.
Nukamon. Like Pokemon and Fallout.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Also, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Arcade, and Riders of Icarus. And maybe most surprisingly,
Go on.
they're citing the Unity game engine itself.
The engine, how does that work as prior art?
Their argument seems to be that the engine itself provides the fundamental tools and capabilities that make implementing these kinds of mechanics possible and perhaps obvious to developers.
That is quite a strategy. So it's not just about showing other games did similar things, but that the tools to do them were readily available.
Exactly. So you have this huge library of examples. Now, the key is how they're using them against Nintendo's specific claims.
Right, let's get specific. How does citing, say, Rune Factory 5 help Pocket Pair?
Okay, so let's take one mechanic. Releasing a monster or capture item, aiming it, and then firing it off when you release a button. Nintendo has a patent related to this.
A common action in many games, feels like.
That's Pocketpair's point. They highlight Rune Factory 5, Titanfall 2, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe as games where you do exactly that. Release something, launch it with a button release. They argue this shows the mechanic wasn't novel when Nintendo patented it.
Okay, I see. Pointing to concrete examples. What else?
Well, related to throwing things in general. They use Pikmin 3 Deluxe again, plus Far Cry 5 and Tomb Raider, to show that having different types of throwable objects that interact with the world is, a well-established concept.
So the idea of chucking stuff around in a game isn't exactly groundbreaking IP.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
Then there's the capturing part itself, targeting a creature and seeing your chances.
Ah, the percentage chance display.
Yeah.
A classic.
Right, we've all seen it. Pocketpair points to the Pocket Souls mod again, Octopath Traveler, Monster Super League, and Final Fantasy XIV.
FFX5e has creature capture.
It has systems where you might target something and see probabilities. Maybe not direct monster capture like Pokemon, but demonstrating the UI mechanic of displaying success chance upon targeting.
Gotcha.
So by showing these pieces, the throwing action, different throwables, the probability display existed separately or in different combinations elsewhere.
They argue Nintendo's specific combination wasn't unique enough to warrant a patent, especially under Japanese law. Is that it?
That's a core part of their prior art defense, yes. And they specifically loop back to Pokemon itself for the capture rates.
How so?
They basically say, look, Pokemon games have had variable capture success rates, different odds for catching different creatures for, what, over 30 years now?
Yeah, since the very beginning.
So the fundamental idea that your chance of success varies isn't new. It undermines the novelty claim for patents covering that aspect.
Okay, that makes sense. Build the case brick by brick using other games. Now let's flip it. What are the specific Nintendo patents Palworld is supposedly infringing?
Right. There are three key ones at the heart of this. First is patent number 7545191.
Okay.
This one essentially covers the method of capturing a creature by throwing an object in a virtual world. It includes aiming, throwing, and then the game deciding if the capture works.
So the whole Palsphere throwing and capture sequence in Palworld?
That's what Nintendo claims is too similar. They're saying Palworld's system infringes on this patented method. It's not just the throw, but the whole process, including the success-fail calculation.
Makes sense, given how central that is to Palworld. What's the next patent?
Patent known, 7493117. This one's a bit broader. It covers aspects of character movement, how characters collide or interact with the environment and each other, and specifically a mechanic where you launch one creature at another to start a battle.
Like throwing out your Pokemon, or in this case, your pal.
Exactly. Nintendo argues Palworld's mechanics for Cal combat, including how you deploy them into a fight, step on this patent.
Okay, so interaction, collision, and that specific launch into battle mechanic. And the third one?
The third is patent known 7528390. This relates to a dynamic mounting system.
Riding creatures.
Yes, specifically a system that allows for smooth transitions while riding them out across different types of terrain, like going from land into the air, maybe over water, seamlessly.
Which is definitely something you do a lot in Palworld with flying or swimming mounts.
Precisely. Nintendo argues Palworld's mount system infringes on their patented approach to this dynamic traversal.
So capture mechanics, creature deployment combat initiation, and dynamic multi-terrain mounting. Those are the three big ones.
That are the core patents in this dispute, yes.
But Pocketpair isn't just saying prior art exists. They have another layer to their defense.
They do. It's kind of a fallback argument. Even if you assume Nintendo's patents are valid, Pocketpair argues that Palworld still doesn't actually infringe them.
How can they argue that, if the mechanics seem similar?
They focus on the specific implementation. They might argue, for example, that Palworld doesn't use the exact same button inputs or sequences described in the fine print of Nintendo's patents.
The technical details matter.
They can, significantly, in patent law. They also point to differences in gameplay structure, like maybe Nintendo's patent describes clear shifts between combat mode and non-combat mode, and Pocketpair argues Palworld is more fluid, blurring those lines.
Interesting. So even if your patent is okay, our game doesn't do it exactly the way your patent describes.
That's the gist. And they also lean heavily on the genre difference.
We touched on that. Pokemon as an RPG, Palworld as survival crafting.
Exactly. They argue Pokemon is fundamentally about the RPG loop, collect, train, battle. Palworld, they say, is built around survival, base building, resource gathering. The pals are tools and companions within that broader survival context, not just battle monsters.
Using pals to power your base, farm resources, build things. Yeah, it's different from just battling gym leaders.
Right. So for every one of those three Nintendo patents, Pocketpair has counter-arguments lined up, using that big list of games again to show differences or alternative ways these things are done.
This whole thing feels big, like the outcome could really ripple outwards through the industry.
Oh, absolutely. This case hits right at a fundamental tension in game development.
Which is?
The balance between protecting real, genuine innovation, rewarding companies for truly new ideas, and allowing the creative freedom for developers to build on what came before.
Because games always build on each other, don't they?
Almost always. It's iterative. Think about roguelike deck builders. You had foundational games like The Binding of Isaac, bringing roguelike elements to the mainstream, Slay the Spire, brilliantly merging it with deck.
And something like Balatro comes along and puts a completely fresh spin on it, using those established mechanics in a new way.
Exactly. That's innovation happening through iteration and combination. If Nintendo's patents here are interpreted very broadly and upheld strongly.
It could make developers nervous.
Very nervous. You might see developers hesitating to use mechanics that feel even vaguely similar to something patented, even if they're common tropes. Imagine second-guessing adding a basic crafting system or a creature-following mechanic because it might overlap with a broad patent somewhere.
That sounds like it could really stifle creativity, lead to blander, safer games maybe?
That's the concern, yeah. A potential chilling effect on innovation. Developers might just avoid certain types of mechanics altogether to avoid legal risk.
And this isn't just a Japan issue, right? Nintendo's looking elsewhere too.
That's the reporting, yes. While this specific case is in the Tokyo District Court, Nintendo is apparently exploring legal options in the United States as well. It suggests they see this as a major issue with global implications.
So for people wanting to follow this closely, you mentioned GamesFray.
Yes, GamesFray, run by Florian Mueller, has been the primary source for these court document details and offers really in-depth analysis. Mueller is a well-known expert on software patents, so his insights are quite valuable here.
Okay, good resources to keep an eye on. So, wrapping this up, the core tension seems clear.
Yeah, it's Nintendo claiming infringement on what they see as their patented game mechanics, capture, combat launch, mounting.
Versus Pocketpair firing back with, essentially, these ideas were already out there, look at all these other games, and also, even if your patents are valid, our game does things differently and is in a different genre.
That sums it up pretty well. And the outcome, whichever way it goes, could genuinely reshape how game mechanics are viewed legally and how developers approach building on existing concepts.
It really could. Which makes you think, doesn't it? Consider the games you play regularly. How many mechanics do you see repeated or iterated upon across different titles?
Loads, probably. From double jumps to cover systems to inventory management.
Exactly. And then think, what would the gaming landscape look like if patent enforcement on those kinds of mechanics became much stricter? How might that change the games we get to play in the future? It's definitely something to mull over as this fascinating case unfolds.
A crucial question for the future of the medium.
Indeed. Well, thanks for diving deep into this with us today.